Zebre come close to a first win against the Warriors, but can't quite get it done in the end. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. After the first half, really didn't expect this game to be as close as it was. In the end, Zebre, a spirited performance from them, and just another indication of the strides that they've made in the past few years. And it's, for teams, it's kind of relative, right? Because for Zebre, it's not about, going out, winning every week, etc. It's the fact that, Glasgow, before this, I believe they've beaten them 26 times on the trot. Obviously, they've made it 27, but this was probably the toughest victory that Glasgow had against them. And that just again shows the progress that they're making. For Glasgow, it's a step for them that they were able to, defense in the last couple of minutes was very good. But let's go through the game and then we'll come back and chat about the teams. So Zebre to the corner from an early penalty to go to the maul, halted by Glasgow, so they move it infield. Carrera with a good carry in the shadow of the post. Then they go back wide with a bounce pass and the ball is knocked on. Glasgow are able to clear. Glasgow then have a period of possession, but it's all in their own half as Zebre's defence marshalling them well early on. Zebre then attacking on the edge of the 22. Fusco tries a crossfield kick, but Ollie Smith deals with it really well, calls a mark and diffuses the danger. Glasgow with a line out just outside the 22. Hiddleston's throw is picked off by Zebre. Uncharacteristic from him, and the rest of the time that he was on, I thought he was very good. He's been brilliant this season, and I have to say I'm really surprised he didn't make Townsend's Six Nations squad. I thought he, given that the likes of Cherry are in there, like nothing against Cherry, but I think Hiddleston, bring him in, get some fresh impetus into that squad. I think that's what that squad needs really. It's just some fresh players coming in and just lift them up, because they just need, I think, that little bit of, again, injection of maybe new faces, and sometimes it can really help a squad. But we'll see how they go in the Six Nations, and we'll see whether Townsend was right with his selections. Next then, Glasgow win a scrum penalty. They go up the line into the 22. There's a maul. Their maul is going forward at a rate of knots. They force a penalty to go to the corner. They get them all going again, and this time it's a penalty try. 7-0. Odiase goes to the bin. Glasgow then back into 22, applying more pressure. Zebre get a warning for the number of penalties they're conceding. Glasgow kick to the corner, secured by Dempsey. Glasgow then set up the maul, going forward. The backs come in and over the go. Hiddleston is the scorer, converted for 14 points to 0. Zebre then to the corner from a scrum penalty. Odiase back from the bin, and they go to the maul. Glasgow collapsing illegally. Penalty advantage. We then have a Timo check as Zebre ground on the line. On field is try. Looks like Carrera has got it down. The try stands, converted for 14 points to 7. Zebre then offside. Glasgow kick to the corner. Williamson claims, and the maul once again has momentum. Over the go. Hiddleston is the scorer yet again, converted for 21 points to 7. Glasgow then work the ball back to about a metre out, but there's a knock on and Zebre are able to clear. Almost a bonus point try, but Zebre did actually scramble pretty well there. Zebre then with a line out in the Glasgow 22, and who was it? I think it was it Williamson gets up and he's able to steal, and Glasgow are able to clear. Half time is 21-7. Into the second half, Zebre attack off a scrum at the start of the half. Mazza breaks out on the right. He's brought down just outside the 22. They recycle. Baloney then breaks down the line into the 22, but it gets called back because there was a forward pass to him. But looking like better shape from the Zebre attack there. Didn't have that much penetration with ball in hand in the first half. Zebre then back into 22. They go left, and there's a deliberate knock on. Before we get underway, though, again, we have a TMO check for a high tackle from Hastings on Batista. He's upright. The arm is somewhat tucked. It's a shoulder to head. Looks like it's kind of borderline red, and it's going to come down to how much of like a wrap there is with that right arm. It's at the moment yellow card, goes for an off-field review, but the referee says there is potential mitigation because Batista was being tackled, so there was a change in body height just before Hastings comes in. So if there's enough of a tuck on that tackle, then it's probably going to stay a yellow. From here, then Zebre go to the corner. The maul drives up to the line before it goes down. They then regroup and they drive over, and it is Bertuccini with a nice. They drive again, then they move it inside, and then Bertuccini comes on a nice line, and he gets over. That's converted for 21 points to 14. We then find out that the yellow for Hastings does indeed stay a yellow, so there obviously was enough of an attempted wrap with the arm. Glasgow now applying pressure close to the Zebre line. Zebre get a warning. Glasgow to the corner from a penalty. They move it inside. Another penalty advantage. We have a TMO check to see if they grounded it next to the post. On field is inconclusive. The replays don't really help with that either. So it's no try. And it's one of those where you're looking at it, you're thinking, the guy has gone to ground with the ball, and then momentum brings everybody over. But there isn't an angle to say that ball is definitely grounded on or over the line. So, you're basically thinking that's almost certainly a try, but by the rules, it can't be given. And I think that's fair enough. And it happens, it'll happen to opposition against Glasgow at some stage as well. But we come back for a penalty, and Carrera goes to the bin. Glasgow then to the corner from a penalty, but then they knock on the line out. Zebre then win a penalty at the resulting scrum, and they're able to clear. Glasgow then back into 22 on attack, but Stavile gets over the ball to win a penalty for Zebre, and the bonus point try just at the moment proving to be very elusive for Glasgow. They then win a scrum penalty, go up the line into the Zebre half. They get them all jogging forward before Zebre bring it down, but Kumov goes to the bin for changing his bind. Glasgow kick to the corner. They go to the maul, gets halted. They move it through the forwards. They got advantage for no arms tackle, so they go to the backs. There's a nice pullback in the midfield. Then Rowe goes close. They recycle. Horn, bullet pass out to Hastings, who scores in the corner. That is their bonus point try. Conversion is missed, 26 points to 14. Glasgow then shifted from a maul on the left the maul was, they shifted left from a maul on the right. And Hastings, he's looking to go wide left. But it's Panny picks off his pass, and he's just got the gas to finish. It's converted as well, and it's 26 points to 21. And Glasgow looking a little bit nervous at this point. Zebre then on attack. Glasgow hold them up in the tackle on the edge of the 22. They forced a maul, but then Odiase strips the ball out. He breaks, and off he goes up the line before being forced into touch. Zebre then, they got momentum. They're looking to create just that final chance that potentially could win them the game. And Horn then, Horn kicks from the back of a scrum, round about halfway. He's trying to kick up into Zebre territory and just pin them then there for the last 2 minutes, but he kicks out on the full. So Zebre then get a scrum back. They look to go again from there, but Glasgow's defence is pinning them in their own half. And then it is Darge gets over the ball, wins a penalty. Glasgow tap it off the field, full time, 26 points to 21. And yeah, Zebre giving them a bit of a scare there in the end, but Glasgow coming through. Okay, so let's have a look at the stats, and then we will talk about each of the teams. So let me pull them up here. If the URC website will be nice to us. Let's see. There we are. Okay, so first up, try scored 3 for Zebre, 4 for Glasgow. So as I said, it is a bonus point win. Possession 45% to 55%. So Glasgow, with most of the ball. But, the back line not firing as well as we normally see them. Like, it really was the forwards, I think, that delivered in this one. Possession then 45%. We just looked at that. Offloads, 1 for Zebre, 4 for Glasgow. And yeah, neither team really taking those risks with the offloads too much. Meters gained then 245 to 286. Clean breaks 3 each. And defenders beaten 16, so about 1 in 5 conversion for Zebre and 21 for Glasgow. 1 in 7, and 1 in 7 is very low for Glasgow, and that's one of the indicators that the attack wasn't really firing all that well for them. Onto defence, and again we've only got the territory. I don't know where the tackling stats have gone for this round, but 47% for Zebre, 53 for Glasgow, so a bit closer on that stat. Kicks and play then, 17 for Zebre, 21 for Glasgow. So compared to other teams, both of these sides keeping the ball in hand, but especially Zebre. Then kick meters, 514 to 497. So looking at that, it tells you, both teams, for the most part, kicking for length. Glasgow maybe a little bit more in terms of putting up, some contestables, but certainly for Zebre, they were just looking to get that length, get down into Glasgow territory and see where we go from there. Kicks retained, 0 from Zebre and just 1 for Glasgow. Again, another indication that there weren't that many, contestable kicks from either team. Lineouts then, 17 from 18 won by Zebre for 94%, which is excellent. But Glasgow 22 from 23 for 96%. So both lineouts going well on their own throw, and 1 steal each as well. So the lineouts that each team lost were actually stolen by the opposition. Onto scrums then, 5 out of 7 scrums. 1 from Zebre for 71% and 3 from 4 for Glasgow for 75%. So neither team, looking brilliant in the scrum, honestly. Okay, so those are the stats. Let's talk about the teams. So we start with Zebre, the home team. We've seen them in the past. We go back maybe 2 or 3 seasons. Zebre have been hugely competitive at home in the Stadio Lanfranchi, and we see it again here where they're against a team that they've never beaten before, and it came so close to actually getting that first win. And they've done it to a few other teams, and they've obviously beaten a few other teams as well for the first time over the last couple of seasons. And that's where you build from. You don't suddenly turn into like a bottom, or from a bottom dwelling team into a team that is going to be making the playoffs every year, or is pushing for top 4 or whatever, right? It's a long process, but they've done well. I think they've recruited well, and they've just built themselves up season after season. It doesn't always go perfectly for them, but you can see progress there. And I think this is another step forward for them. The fact that they got so close to Glasgow. Now, it doesn't mean that next time, like that they host Glasgow, that they're going to beat them or anything like that. But it does mean that, maybe the next time that they get in a position like this, they might be able to actually take or create that final chance to actually get over the line and get a first win. So that is, for me at least, certainly progress from them. And it's good to see as well, because they've been dropping down the league recently. The form hasn't been brilliant in the URC. They started the season really well, won 2 games, and since then they haven't really, produced too much. So it's good to see a performance from them here. They got themselves obviously a losing bonus point. They did do, well in Europe, and maybe they're bringing a bit of that confidence back to the URC as well. On to then Glasgow. So, it looked like it was just going to be a kind of routine win for them by, a decent margin, halftime winning 21-7. You thought, maybe like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the second half, they get their bonus point try. They maybe, in that period, get another try or 2 as well to kind of blow that score out to maybe 3 scores or 4 maybe. And then coming down the stretch, maybe the last 10 or 15 minutes, maybe tries, swap between the teams, and you end up with a scoreline, maybe something like high 40s or 50s for Glasgow and 20 odd for Zebre. But that isn't what we ended up in that second half. And, the fact that, Glasgow let Zebre come back into the game the way they did, they let them come back to 21-14 and then to 26-21, and they weren't able to kind of get that bonus point try, even though they were on that Zebre line for so long. Zebre conceding multiple penalties, men going to the bin, but still they were struggling to get over. And, the fact that the back line wasn't working as well as it normally is meant a lot of it had to come through the forwards. And, that kind of, I think that just put more pressure on them as well, that they felt like, we've got to get it this time. We've got to get it this time. And maybe there was, a bit of a lack of patience in some instances to actually get over. But credit to them, they did get over for that bonus point try. And, you go back to maybe Glasgow to, let's say, 3 or 4 years ago, before they won the URC. And maybe that Glasgow team doesn't get that bonus point try. And that intercept try is actually for Zebre to take the lead and potentially go on and win the game. So there are kind of, positives and negatives, I think, for Glasgow. It certainly wasn't their best performance of the season, but it was a bonus point win. And at the end of the day, when you're looking at that table, 5 points have been added to their tally. And it doesn't have an asterisk beside it saying, oh, that was a close one or anything like that, right? So, and also, the fact that now puts Glasgow top of the table. So they've got to be absolutely pleased with that. They've got one more game now, but you would imagine now with the Six Nations, just a couple of weeks away, the start of that we're going to see probably very different personnel in Glasgow's next game, but they're going to want to keep that momentum going now. And, they don't want to be kind of reach the top of the table for one round and then suddenly drop back to second or third, after that. So they're going to want to, hopefully from now, go on a run, have a sustained period at the top of the table, and just again reaffirm their credentials as potential champions this year.